welcome to another episode of the Open Book Besties. I'm Misty Walker.
And I'm Kay Webster.
And we are a few days late.
It happened.
I feel like this is a theme.
Mm-hmm. It happened.
In my defense, I caught some kind of plague and I've been out.
Well, that was me like 2 months ago. So, you know, you can have a sick day every now and again.
Yeah. Or a sick week.
You're allowed.
So we have some listener questions.
We do.
That we're going to get to this week.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know people listened, but they do. And they have questions.
We thought this was only for us.
I know.
Honestly, even if nobody listened, we'd probably still do this because it's our only chance to like sit down and have a conversation that's
distraction free.
Yeah. And not with us typing away. So
yeah. And there's so much that I don't say to you through Messenger because I'm just too lazy to type it all.
Yeah.
So it's like when I get in front of you, then I can talk. And I talk a lot.
Yeah, this is our little catch up. And everybody gets to hear it.
Exactly.
Whether they like it or not.
They love it.
Yeah. So should we just dive in?
Yeah, let's just dive into the questions. The questions come from one of my friends, actually. Her name's Erin Branscombe, and she is an author who is working on her first couple of books, and she's going to try and publish for the first time this year. And she really has the whole marketing thing down really well because she's already like an influencer, like through Amazon. She has like her own page and stuff. And so she's like really good. She has a YouTube channel that's got like 50,000 plus subscribers. I mean, so she's doing the dang thing over there with like her brand and her marketing. So now she wants to get her books out there, and you know, it's crazy because whenever I talk to her, she's so smart about everything. And then she asks me all these questions because this is an area she doesn't know, and I get to feel sort of smart sometimes whenever I'm talking to her, like I'm the one that knows some things. So we do have good like book discussions, and then she tells me a lot of marketing stuff and has good ideas. So anyway, she provided us with some questions, and hopefully we can get to those today and answer them for her.
Am I going to meet her when I'm in Tulsa? Yeah.
Yes. I told her to just come park her tail at our tables, you know, because we're going to like push our tables together and like make it like a community center. No, we get in trouble. No.
I'm so excited. It's coming up so soon and I just can't wait.
I know. It's awesome.
Okay, so what's our first question? Do you have it in front of you, or do you want me to?
Let me look at here. So let's just see. I had it pulled up here. Okay, so one of her questions was, how do you as authors handle like sensitive topics and writing taboo and, you know, dark themes? Kind of adding some to her question because people do ask this a lot. Actually, in fact, someone asked me on my TikTok today, and I'm going to do a little video for it later too. But basically, how do you handle like how sensitive do you need to be? How do you prepare the people for those sensitivity levels, I guess? And I mean, I would think that I still obviously write whatever I want to write. But then I think about the audience and where it's going to be consumed and who's going to do the consuming. So if it's super taboo, I realize that it's not going to go mainstream. It's not going to go to everybody. It's going to go to those, you know, diehards who are totally there for it. So I can't just dish it out in front of everybody because then the wrong people are going to have a taste of it. And so I learned that kind of hard way a long time ago. So now it's like, okay, if it's super taboo, I'm going to write whatever it is that I want to write and then put it out on my website or Eden Books and really warn people hardcore before they go into it. So if they've ventured all the way over to my website, by that point, they're pretty invested in getting this story. They're not going to necessarily stumble upon it.
Right. It's nothing that you're putting an Amazon ad out for, you know?
Right, right. And then where it gets tricky is like with dark romance, sometimes, you know, because we read so much. I mean, I read like zombies and stuff like that, and there's always crazy stuff happening in those kinds of stories. Lots of death and gore and violence, and to me that's dark. They don't ever warn me. They don't give me trigger warnings on those. So I but I realize on the romance side of it, there's a lot of like sexual stuff that is triggering for people, understandably. So if there are those kinds of things and like self-harm and things like that, I try to warn them ahead of time, you know, and it might be as vague as this novel contains, you know, some dark elements, including sexual violence or self-harm or drug use or something like that, to just kind of give them like an idea of what to expect, you know, in this book or whatever. And then I kind of just go, like, I don't hold back any, you know, because it's like, if I've warned them, I feel like I've kind of, you know, prepared them before they go in. And but you know, I don't ever, you know, lessen what I'm going to write for fear of what people might, you know, find triggering or whatever in the future, because I have so many readers that really, really love when I go like way outside the lines and do the daring things. So I'm basically writing for them, and I have to warn the people who aren't them, and then they can decide if they're going to get in there and do it or not. So I don't know how you handle yours, because you've got a lot of dark stuff too.
Yeah. I have learned along the way that you can't put your trigger warnings in your description on Amazon. That will get you hidden,
right?
Unless people actually have the link. So I don't do that anymore. Instead, I write, check author's website for content warnings. I don't even use the word trigger. I just say content warnings. And then on my website, if you go to the book, there's a little thing that lists every single thing that could possibly be triggering inside that book for the people who want to know. I have a hard time recognizing the triggers because I don't have any. I have zero. Well, I think I found one recently, but I don't have any. And so my editor actually points them out to me, and then I go and I add them to my website before the book goes up for sale. And you're right, it is kind of a double standard between genres, because if you read like thriller, if you read whatever, but also the reader knows that if they pick up a thriller book, then they know, you know, things are about to get dark. But for romance, it's just necessary to put them on there. You never want to hurt any of your readers or cause them any kind of, you know, triggering moments. So that's what I do. And then I also put a warning in the front of each of my biker books that say, you know, please, this is what's in this book. Please do not proceed if you're not okay with that.
Right. Yeah. And what you said is true about the putting the trigger warning in the blurb or whatever on Amazon. I've had books that were blocked right out of the gate.
Yeah.
And it was because my warning was, it had keywords that it didn't like right off the bat. And so I think like, I don't even remember, like one of them, I think one time was dubious consent, and it didn't like that.
Yeah.
And so I had to, you know, I think I might've even taken it off, like you said, and then I try to put them right there at the beginning before you even start the book, like, or like with, you know, I sometimes will put the blurb at the beginning of my book, and then I'll put the trigger warning like right underneath it. So I try to put it right there, you know, and, you know, that's about all we can do. I know you and I both are pretty aware of, like, you have hired sensitivity readers for certain things.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I've had people read, I didn't like hire them, but I had people read those certain books or things that, would tell me like, okay, yes, change this or change that, because we don't know everything. We don't know what, like you said, we don't, just because it doesn't, you know, trigger us, it doesn't mean it won't somebody else. So
Yeah. If I
definitely.
write any kind of character that isn't a white, able-bodied person, I'm
Mhm,
immediately hiring a sensitivity reader.
mhm,
Even if I'm not talking about that specific thing, like in Riley's Biker, he's half black, half white.
mhm.
I don't talk about race at all inside that book, but it was still very important for me to get a sensitivity reader I don't know, I call them diversity readers, to just make sure that I didn't do anything stupid, because as a white person walking around in this world that's able-bodied, there are a lot of things that I just don't even know and don't even recognize. And I think it's a really good learning moment too. I've learned a lot through my diversity readers. Um,
Well,
so
yeah, and because stuff that we take for granted and don't even notice,
yeah.
it is and I think about that, like, what are my own triggers? And like, I don't, one of my trigger, and this is gonna sound so stupid, is I hate for people to treat me like I'm dumb.
Mm,
So they, a lot of times they think, oh, okay, this blonde haired girl, she's so smiley and happy, she, is an airhead.
must be stupid. Yeah.
Yeah, and and I will get like condescending remarks by people in like the real world or whatever, like alluding to my intelligence, and it is triggering. Like, I will just like, I've been at car dealerships before and just like went off on these people
Oh yeah,
because,
I remember that.
yeah, because I'm like, do not treat me like I'm stupid, and
Yeah.
so I get it, like, everybody has their thing no matter what it is, and so just being aware and respectful of all those things is important. And even in like in gay romance, I learned a lot of things, like um what was it, one of the things, and I think I told you about this, about like the language of how you write things. Like, I had always read, like, if someone, they would say, oh, I'm clean,
Oh
let's
yeah.
have sex or whatever. But I learned that they like to say that I'm, what did I say? My brain just blanked out. I'm negative, I think,
Yeah.
or something like that. There was a different way of saying it that didn't sound like,
That didn't
you know,
imply people that had an STI
we're
were
dirty.
dirty.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And so um anyway, I just little things like that, and I didn't know that until I saw someone post about it in a group, and they were like, could you please stop, like, talking generally to everybody, could you please stop putting this in books, it's offensive. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I'd never even knew. And so that's how we learn and grow and change. And we're always going to make mistakes. And I mean, recently I had done something in one of my books that was stupid. I didn't realize it was in any way, offensive. And someone came to me and said, oh, this is offensive, this line you wrote. And I was like, oh, like, I didn't know, like, and as soon as she said it and pointed it out, I was like, oh, it is, like, I can see what you're saying. Like, I don't even know why, like, it just, and so I went in there and changed the document. It was just a couple of lines. But it was important because she was very upset about it. And so
Yeah.
it was something that it didn't change the story in any way. Like, I could change this and at least make her feel good and me not feel like a jerk for writing something that was, you know, unintentionally
Yeah.
offensive. So it's definitely a little tightrope you got to balance on. But there are a lot of resources, and I think you sent me, or you were going to send me, a link to was
Yeah.
it, I don't even remember what it
It's
was.
I'll have to put it inside either the description or the comments, that has been like my go-to resource about writing diversity in books.
Okay. Okay.
Um, it's a Tumblr account, but it has a search engine on it, so you can search whatever you want. And I think maybe I might be able to find it. I don't know.
Okay, well, I'm going to make us a little note, so because I know that some of the listeners are going to want to know what that is. So we'll put that in the episode links. That way people can find it pretty easily.
Yeah, it'll be easier. Just link it.
So that's about it on that question. And if you ever, have questions, you can seek out these resources. There are groups that have these kinds of topics. A lot of times asking another author about a certain situation or a character or whatever you're going to do, and they can give you advice on it. So that kind of thing is just one of those things that it's part of your research and part of the job that if you want to be a good author and cross all your T's and dot all your I's, this is something you're having to research and look into, and really
you have an obligation as an author to go that extra mile.
Right. Yeah. And the readers will thank you for it, and they will be appreciative, and they'll feel seen and so
respected. Yeah.
Right. So do your homework.
Yep.
All right. What is the next question? Let's see. Okay. So what does a new release look like, and specific checklists you follow? Do you have any particular rituals or whatever you do for your new releases?
I don't. I totally joke all the time that I basically just throw shit at the wall and hope something sticks. And that's really what I do. And it's a terrible way of doing things. But I've learned a lot that way.
Yeah. I mean, I was gonna say, I think a lot of it is just kind of getting in there and fumbling your way through.
Yeah, because also what works for one person won't work for another, Sometimes I will do everything right. I will hire, really expensive PR firms, and I will, do this, and I don't make a dime more than what I made when I just threw a book out, It really just, it depends on who you are and your own journey, really.
Right.
But there are resources out there.
Right. And one of the ones that immediately came to mind is Alessandra Torrey Inkers, or Ink, I guess is the name, but she's got a group on Facebook, but she always sends newsletters if you sign up, and she has all these free videos, and I actually looked on her website, and we'll also include this in the bio, but on alessandratorreyink.com, if you scroll down halfway through the page, there is a download the checklist button. And inside there, I saw that it said dominate your release, and it'll tell you and I've printed it a while back ago, I don't know where I put it, but it's 6 months before, do this and this and this, 3 months before, do this and this and this, the month before, do this and this. It just tells you suggested things that you could be doing to help you. And then the other thing is make your own checklist. And like you were saying, everybody is different. So maybe sit down and watch somebody that you admire and think, wow, they do a good job, and really pay attention. Okay, wow, I think that, I noticed that I first saw an ad for them for this book that's coming out on this day. Okay. I liked how the composition of the ad or whatever, that really caught my attention. So now I'm going to pay attention. I'm going to watch them. And then, okay, so then they put a teaser, or they did a newsletter thing or whatever. So if you kind of pay attention, and 90% of this job is just studying the market and seeing what's working and what's not working. And I follow a lot of people are like, oh, I don't like to sign up for newsletters. Well, I do. I like to sign up for newsletters. I like to see how people set their newsletters up. And obviously I do mine my own way, but I might think of something that they did, they talked about, that I thought, I never would have considered, speaking about that or whatever. And so I think it's good to kind of make your own, little checklist, and then kind of fine tune it, because so many times we get these checklists and they're just bulky and cumbersome, and there's all these things that you're not good at, or you can't afford to do, or you're not gonna do, that is overwhelming. And then you've got this massive checklist of things that you're like, if I don't do all these, and am I gonna fail?
Right.
So it's better to kind of pick and pull out the pieces that are important, and then, kind of fine tune it to the way that works for you. So
Yeah, because I don't have my book done 6 months in advance. Like that's not it would be nice. I'd
right.
love that, but that's just not like how things are going right now. So, obviously that would be overwhelming for me to look at that and go, oh crap.
Right.
But you have to figure out what works for you. And in order to do that, you have to try everything.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to be open to trying everything.
Right.
You can't be set in your ways in this career at all. Otherwise, you're going to be missing out on potentially profitable opportunities.
Right. And if something is not working for you, or it's painful, it's like pulling teeth, abandon ship and move on,
Yeah.
because you are not going to enjoy your job if you're forcing yourself to like be exactly like so and so who's killing it over here, because that sort of thing that they're good and they have natural abilities with isn't your thing. You can train and you can learn, but you're never going to be exactly like that person. So you have to like kind of hone in on your own strengths and what you're good at, and kind of like develop something that can be your powerhouse type of thing. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? And so this author journey is a lot of like self-reflection and
for sure.
learning. And what's funny is like you and me, we both have two totally different like ways of doing things. And you would think that we might be similar, except for we're not, like, as close as we are. And like, when you start out, you ask me a lot of questions and things like that, but then you go and do all this, like half the time I'm like, dang, Misty, how did you do that? What are you doing? I want to do that, because I'm learning from you and I've been in it way longer, and so it's because you've kind of learned what you had to learn, but then you're also learning from all these other people, and then you're developing your own little way. And now you have people looking up to you going, oh, wait, let me take some notes.
Yeah. And then they ask me questions and I'm like, no, I'm not going to answer that
But like
because I don't know.
but see, where you're really like your strengths, where you're really good at, is like, first of all, you're great at being consistent on TikTok and marketing yourself, and you're friendly, and you're kind of like a little bit snarky in a way, and people like respond to that. They like want to know what you have to say and hear your funny little things. And then with the whole like your packaging and doing like book orders and things like that, you've really like put your stamp on how you do it, and people are watching you because you do such a good job, and you have like this style about you when it comes to that. And so and that's your thing. When I think of you on TikTok packaging your book orders and making your little clicky sounds and your little stickers and your cool stuff and your relaxing voice, and it's just your thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's just everybody's
Thank
kind of
you.
got to find their thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And your thing is like being the dorky best friend.
Yeah. 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 Let's see how cheesy I can be.
And it works.
Yeah.
If the second that, especially, okay, I feel like there are different marketing, whatever, for each different platform.
Oh,
So on Instagram, you have to present yourself like very professional and perfect and stylized and aesthetic and all of this. Like you have to do that, and I haven't had a lot of success on Instagram because that's not so much me.
right.
Like I'm messy and I'm down to earth. I'm not, I'm in no way any kind of influencer type of personality. So I think that moving to TikTok was really helpful for me because I could be myself and people responded to that. But that it's not saying like one is better than the other. If you like things to be perfect, if you like things to be aesthetic, like my daughter, her room right now looks like Instagram picture worthy, that's her. She likes everything to be very perfect. And Instagram would be perfect for her, but for
Right.
me, that's not me. So you, as an author, you have to find the take your personality and figure out what works for you.
Right. And some people could say, well, I don't like TikTok. You can't make me do this, Christy. Okay, well, here's one thing that you could do, and that would be your newsletter. And
Yeah.
the reason I say this is because I've been working on my newsletter lately, and um, I've been trying to put more personality in it, just telling about
Yeah.
like my past or my writing process, or show them pictures of the dog, or the smoothie I made, like literally just whatever.
Yeah.
And as a result, I have had so many people say, I am just loving your newsletters. They're so I really enjoy reading them. And then my open rates are doing better. And then also my sales for whatever I'm talking about in the newsletter, they go up.
They go
Like
up.
it spikes up. So like recently I started talking about old books, and anytime I talk about them in the newsletter, like they become the bestseller for that month. And
Yeah.
so that tells me right there that a good portion of my income is coming from people that already know me, because they've got my newsletter. Like this is people that I've already connected and reached out to, and that are following me for whatever reason. And just because you assume that they know everything you have, they don't. And even if you've put out 3 books and you're like, well, it's probably my cousins and my auntie and my mom, that's my newsletter. But maybe they weren't paying attention when you were talking about that second book, and when they see it presented to you in the newsletter, it like triggers something else in the brain. It's like a different way of seeing things, and
Yeah.
boom, you make a sale or whatever. So there are different techniques like you were talking about. And I feel like if you are not a social media person, the good thing about newsletter is you can take that time to like really think it out. I mean, you're a
Yeah.
writer. If you're, a lot of people listening to this are writers. You can take that time to really think it out and make sure it sounds personable, and really, put some cool pictures in there or whatever. Or you don't even have to put pictures, I guess, but just talk about yourself. And I feel like anybody can do that.
Yeah.
And it's smart, and it's a way, and like
Yeah.
people, your social media could disappear. I mean, we don't know, like,
We see this happen every single day almost. It
right.
feels like somebody gets their social media ripped out from under them. And it's not just like small time authors, like Kennedy Fox recently had their Instagram ripped out from under them. They don't care. They'll shut you down for whatever reason they want to, and then you have to start all over again. But your newsletter, that's yours. You'll never ever have to start all over with that one.
Right. And people say, well, Christy, I don't know how to get people on my newsletter. Nobody wants to do it. And a long time ago, I would have suggested doing like newsletter swaps or something. But then I realized that I would get a lot of like people on there that don't really want to be on there.
Yeah.
The most effective thing for me is putting a short story at the end of a book, like just a chapter or two, that says, if you enjoyed this book, here's like a bonus scene or whatever,
Yeah.
or a sneak peek into some characters that I'd really like to write or whatever. And so then they would go to like Book Funnel or whatever and sign up for your newsletter list to get the story. And then I also will put free short stories on my website. And again, it pulls them to sign up for my newsletter. I feel like if they're downloading the story because they want more of my book, or if they're downloading the story because they want to read it, then the chances are of them signing up for my newsletter, they will want to, because there might be more stuff they're interested in.
Yeah.
And then also, and this could even happen with your newsletter, or I guess if they're already on your newsletter, it doesn't matter, but like on TikTok or something, you tell them about this freebie short story. I've had so many downloads of my free short stories on my website, and these books are like 5,000 words or so.
Yeah.
And I mean, literally you can write this in a day.
Mm-hmm.
And people gobble these little short stories up and they love them. And of course they always want more, but then you send them on to something else that's similar, And so like I've had some of my short stories like get like thousands and thousands of downloads all over the country. Some people even translated it, which they weren't supposed to, but they did. But I just figured they really loved it that much if they were going to translate this short story and put it out there.
Yeah.
But, you know, like you wouldn't realize how many people are just, you know, waiting to read those up. And anyway, that was a long thing to say.
Yeah.
I just went on tangent.
Work on your newsletter.
Right. Right. And short stories, I mean, don't just write them for, you know, anthologies or projects or whatever. Just write them because you want to. And like, for instance, I'm writing a book right now, and at the very end, so I wouldn't forget, I wrote, don't forget to write a newsletter story. So this might be like, you know, a scene from their wedding later, or, you know, the future, or, you know, just another steamy sex scene or whatever. So,
Yeah.
and that would only take me, you know, an hour or two to write.
Yeah.
So worth it.
Totally worth it.
All right, let's see.
Next
question. Okay. Thoughts on illustrated covers versus traditional covers. I think she means like
big thoughts.
Yeah, like we've got the cartoony ones or
object covers,
and then we've also got like the more mainstream, like what's trending, like what goes with that, like say mafia romance, you think of a dude with a suit and a tie kind of thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
dark colors.
Right. And she's trying to ask like what are our thoughts on the different ones. So go ahead.
I love the new trend of the discrete covers. I think they're beautiful. I think people are really getting creative and making them just like something that you want to display at your house instead of just like, you know, read the spine on your bookshelf. I love them. Illustrated covers, I'm having a hard time with because I personally like books that have spice in them.
Mm-hmm.
And there is no way to tell. There's
Mm-hmm.
no way to tell if it does or not.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like to read reviews, so that's kind of off. But I wish that there was like some kind of way that could clue a reader in with the illustrated covers to let them know, like, this is not going to be a fade to black book.
Right, right. And I mean, that might be, well, I mean, I guess they would have to do that for if you were an author and had one, you could always put it like as a little note, you know, with your blurb, like this is a spicy book. But as far as a reader, not all the authors are doing that. So you just kind of have to.
Yeah, if you don't know the author, because this is what's happening on Audible right now. I listen to so many audiobooks, and there are the illustrated covers are just taking over on Audible, and I have a hard time purchasing the illustrated covers, even though like the blurb sounds good, and I'm like, oh, I just really want to listen to this, but I'm not sure, you know.
Because it's hard to tell if, you know, if it's a super spicy romance, if they're not like in the throes of passion on the cover.
Right.
You know, like, you know, back on those in the olden days with Fabio, you know, just, you know,
right.
like
Yeah.
his hair blowing in the wind and the woman with her shirt kind of like hanging off, like you kind of knew what was about to go down.
Right. Yeah.
But when you have a little cartoony with the, you know, the girl holding her briefcase and, you know, the guy holding his cell phone, you're like,
right,
what's happening here? Is this like an office romance, or is this like a rom-com, or like, so yeah, it is
I think they're adorable. I love them. I think
they are.
Like, I absolutely adore them. I just wish that there was like a little way to be able to tell. The discrete covers are easy because there's always a regular cover. There's a normal cover, and then there's the discrete cover, and you can choose which one you want to purchase if you're getting the paperback or the hardback. That's easy for me. And I love them. I think they're beautiful.
And a lot of times the object covers, the ones that, you know, a lot of times they still like tell the vibe. So like it's kind of dark with, you know, like a crown on it. You're like, ooh, this is probably some kind of dark fantasy, or even like bully, or like you kind of have like an idea that where you're going, like a mafia leader or whatever. You kind of have an idea that this is probably gonna be dark, probably gonna be a little bit juicy. Whereas if it's kind of like an object that's sparkly and kind of bright, you think, oh, that's probably, you know, a little bit lighter hearted. I feel like you have a better sense on those than you do the illustrated covers.
Yeah. Because you've been doing a lot of object covers for your Patreon.
Yeah, I did. And yeah, like one was flowers, and then one was a shoe or a leg with a shoe, and then another one was that one wasn't an object, it was an angel. And then but then the next one is kind of like abstract, like you know. And then the one I'm working on now though is illustrated, like I hired someone to draw a cartoon, and so I'm excited, but like it's just for Patreon. I don't know if I could do it for like change my cover out there, you know, and like for all the websites or whatever. So
right,
because I wouldn't know if it would sell, you know.
Yeah, I like the idea of, you know, having your cover and then having the discrete cover and giving the readers the options, because I mean, you're out the money for the cover, but other than that, it really, there's no downside to having that option. So.
Right. And a good point that I learned about last weekend about this is, for a newbie author, say that you had 2 books, okay? So you've got, you know, a dark romance, say, and then like a mafia romance. Okay. Well, how are you going to make your backlist look bigger? Well, maybe you offer discrete covers for both of those. So now it looks like you have 4 books, but you have more to offer and more to show, you know, and more variations. So I think it's smart for people that are first starting out to have a couple of variations. And I bet you when you hire a designer, you could say, I would like to get, you know, 2 versions, and then they would probably hook you up with a deal. Probably. Maybe. I don't know.
I'll bet.
Maybe. So yeah. Okay, so that's all we had to say about that. And we talked about this question last week or a couple weeks ago, how to handle book world drama and stay out of it. And that's basically the answer: stay out of it. Stay book focused, stay positive,
stay just career focused, you know. You are a person and you have opinions and you have thoughts on things, but you are also your brand.
Right. And so and no matter, you know, I've seen it, even if you feel strongly about something, you really don't need to go out there and tell the whole world, because it just puts a negative light on it, even if that wasn't your intention, even if it was, you know, you're trying, I don't know. I just feel like when I scroll through a lot of these things and I see something and they're like, this is the way I feel about this and this and this, it doesn't make me think, oh, well, you go, girl. A lot of times it'll make me go, you know, like I wanted to learn about books, you know, like I don't really want to learn about that. And so I feel like people like to get swept up in the drama, but people that are just everyday readers and scrolling through and watching, they respond better to the positivity and the excitement, because I mean, we're here to read books. We're here to escape regular life, to read books. So let's keep this our happy place, you know, like, I don't like for it to turn into something yucky, you know, like just everybody get along. Like, I don't see how hard that is.
It's very hard.
I just don't get it.
It's very, very, very hard.
Just be nice, everybody. You know, and then and it's just like, and nobody's going to be perfect. I mean, you see celebrities all the time that like mess up, and they know it.
We're human.
Right. Everybody's going to mess up, and it depends on how you do better in the future and fix your mistakes and, you know, keep moving along, because I mean, as humans, we just got to keep growing. So stay away from it. Just focus on the books. Let's see. Oh, you were going to answer this question. Where to find beta readers and what do you ask them to do?
Okay. Finding beta readers is tricky. I think that if you are just like a person that reads books and you're not in any kind of social media book world at all, you are going to have a very, very, very hard time. It, of course, there are resources, there are professional resources that you can hire, but that's adding to the enormous expense of publishing a book. My best advice would be to immerse yourself in the book world, find the people that enjoy the same things that you do, the same genre that you're writing, and ask, would you mind reading this for me? That type of thing. My beta readers were all people that I've known for years in the book world before I was publishing. So, and I trust them.
Right.
That's
Because trust
important.
is a big
Trust
thing
is
too.
very important because you're giving someone your book before anybody else, before it's been released, before, you have to be able to trust them.
Right.
But this is the questionnaire, the checklist that I give my beta readers. The first question is, did the story hold your interest from the very beginning? I want to make sure when I put out a book that the reader doesn't want to put it down from the very first page. Like, that's important to me. So that's what I ask. Does the setting interest you, and did the description seem vivid and real to you? This is important for me because I do have aphantasia. It is a little bit harder for me to do world building when I can't see anything in my head. So that was important for me to ask. Was there a point at which you felt the story lagged or you became less excited about finding out what was going to happen next? You don't want there to be any point where the reader's like, scroll. Did you notice any discrepancies or inconsistencies in the time sequence, places, character details, or other details? I have a very bad memory, and a lot of times I will say something in the beginning of the book that completely contradicts something that I say later on, and I will not pick it up no matter how many times I read this freaking book. I will not figure that out. So that's important. Were the characters believable? Are there any characters you think could be made more interesting or likable? Obviously, you want your characters to be interesting. Did you get confused about who's who in the characters? Were there too many characters to keep track of? Too few? Are there, or are any of the names of characters? Oh, this one cut off. But anyway, you want to make sure that your characters are distinct and you're not just like making everybody flat so that they're memorable. Did the dialogue keep your interest and sound natural to you? I feel like these are all like really, really good questions for you to know.
Now I've got a question, because I'm sure they're going to have this question too. Did you make up this list, or did you find it somewhere and print it off? Like, is this something that you could share for someone who is looking for a list like this to use?
I could probably put a link to it. It's just, when I was looking to start a beta team, I just went on the internet and started Googling like what to ask beta readers. And I went through like probably 40 different websites looking at every single question that they asked. And I plucked the ones that were important for me. So it would be very easy for someone to come up with their own checklist, but I wouldn't mind sharing this.
Yeah.
Was the ending satisfying, believable? Did you notice any obvious repeating grammatical, spelling, punctuation, or capitalization errors? That one's not so important to me because I do have, 2 rounds of edits and a proofreader, but it's always good to give your editor the cleanest possible version. And a lot of people, that's their specialty, is finding, grammatical errors. And so why wouldn't you want to pick those up before you even go to editing?
Right. Yeah. Well, that's good. That's
my list.
Yeah, it's a really good list. And, like for people just starting out, like they know they need a beta reader, but they don't know what their beta readers need to do. And probably the beta readers don't know what they need to do. So this is really good for both parties, for a newbie. or for anybody really that, ask them. I've gotten to the point like that I don't really have. I mean, you read my book early sometimes if you have time. My friend Elizabeth will read it, but like literally that's it. Like, and then I don't know. For me, like some people do really well with taking all this feedback and then just putting it all in like it needs to go. But then you have me, and I get overwhelmed by too many like spoons in my pot. You know what I'm
Outside,
saying?
yeah,
Yeah.
too
And it's
many
like,
outside opinions.
right. And so at one point I did have a lot of beta readers, but I was having so much this and that and this and that it was too hard to like make sense of it all. So I just that's not part of my process. But I feel like I'm probably in the minority there. Like most people have beta readers and
Yeah,
are
yeah,
pretty like they have that checklist, to help them. So it's good.
yeah. And I don't like, sometimes I get somebody saying something that I'm like, I don't know. I always stick with my gut, and I don't want to add too many outside influences to the book, but a lot of times things are blaringly obvious to someone that I am completely blinded to. So yeah, I have to have that. Otherwise, who knows what I'd put out there.
It's another tool in our toolbox.
Yep.
Okay, and then this one says, what do you take to book signings? How much products?
This is all you, boo, because
Ugh.
I going to my first signing next month and I have no idea. No
Well,
idea.
I say for sure try to push the pre-orders for the signing. So if you can get people to pre-order books and beforehand, that's good because then you have a better idea of what to bring.
Yeah.
In my case, I whenever I go to signings, I try to offer like little discounts and cool deals, like
Mm,
that way the people that are really interested in that thing, they go ahead and get everything that they want. Because a lot of times I'll tell them, I have too many books to bring to the signing, so if there's something you really want, make sure you pre-order it because I may not have it with me, because there's
right.
no possible way for me to pack up this entire library and carry it all with
Yeah.
me, and so for me it's tricky. I feel like with like, I mean, even with you, you've got a million books too already. So, but like if it was one person that had one book out, I feel like then they can just bring a whole bunch of that book and just really, bring swag that goes with it and they're good to go. But with us, it's harder because you're having to choose what you're going to leave behind and and like we were talking earlier before the show about your daughter, how she overpacks. That's how it is with me with signings. I overpack for signings and I literally bring like a train of carts full of boxes,
Yeah.
knowing that there's no way I could possibly sell that many books, but I have like this fear of not having it for someone. And
Yeah.
so at some point it's like, okay, where are you going to draw the line? Like 10 books or, whatever. And
So can I ask a pre-order question?
okay.
When someone pre-orders, do you just make sure that you bring that set it aside so that that person's going to get it? Or do you like sign it and package it up and have it all ready so when they come, you just give it to them?
No. Part of the fun of the signing is meeting the offer, taking pictures of them signing your book, and
Okay.
like that's exciting for them. So what I do is, all of the paid ones I put off to the side, and then when they show up, basically we hand them the stack and then make sure that's everything that they wanted, and then we do the signing there. And sometimes people will pre-order because they're buying something for a friend, or like it's just, I
Yeah.
feel like it's more part of the experience to sign it in front of them
Yeah.
than to have it ready. So nobody asks to have it ready. I mean, like part of the fun in the book signing is stopping and chatting and
Seeing
getting to
them
know the
sign
author.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's my advice. And then
All
as far
right.
as, swag, I've seen people do all kinds of things. I've seen people, bring candy. I've seen people like sell swag, like higher end swag that, like shirts and things. I've seen people just this is kind of what I do, is throw a bunch of stuff on my table, and it's a free for all, just grab some, like, because I want them to come to my table. So I'm like, come over here. I like entice them with my pens, and I see them, they're talking to me, trying to listen, because maybe they don't know me. And I see them, their hands slowly going over there to get a pen. I'm like, don't forget to grab one for your friend over there too. It's like, don't be afraid to come grab a pen and talk to me, because I figured
I bought 150 squishy penises.
Right. Yeah. You're gonna get rid of those.
I know people are gonna want to come over and get themselves a squishy peen. So
right. And then something that's very important is a banner. Don't be like me. Don't put your book covers on your banner, because I learned this, that by the time I put all the book covers on my banner, by the next signing, I'd already written 3 or 4 more books.
A bunch more books. Yeah.
So it was like, it was always obsolete, and then it was too cluttered. So if you could find something that kind of represents you and your brand, and just kind of, you could use it longer, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. So I just had my first one made, and I just have my logo, a QR code, and then a couple of my most important websites, like my actual website. And then that's it. It's like so basic. I'm
and that's good. You'll be able
that
to,
it's gonna look stupid, but
no, it won't. And you'll be able to use it for future signings,
Yeah, I can't change my logo anytime soon.
Right. And it'll be fine. And I actually have 2 signs, and since it's been a couple years since I went to the last signing, like, my whole branding changed. But I'm also kind of like, it's a perfectly good sign, you know? So I'm like,
and they're
I
not
think I'm
cheap.
just gonna bring it. Yeah, I mean, they're like $150, and so I'm like, and I have 2 of them.
I spent more than that. Where do you get them for $150? I paid, I think, like probably $250 for mine.
Maybe they went up in price. I don't remember. I honestly don't. You know me, I don't pay attention. I just whatever. And so, but I do have those 2, and I'm like, should I get a new one? And I'm like, I think I'm just gonna keep them. And it is what it is. One of them says, I read banned books, and it has like the cover of the wild, basically, like the background. It doesn't have the cover, but it has like the cover image as the background, and then it says K Webster. So I'm like,
I think that's good, because people recognize that for
right.
sure.
And then the other one has my old slogan, but it has a couple and like a steamy embrace. So I'm like, and it's dark, and I'm like, I'll just keep it. So yeah. And then people have stickers and postcards. Like, we're gonna bring these to the signing. We had those made, and that way we can talk about our podcast to people, because we're right next to each other.
They are right there.
I know, they're so cute. I put one on the fridge, because I mean, it's got us on it. Like,
I know, we're so cute.
We are. And this says, voted by Misty and Christy best podcast of the year.
Yeah.
But I feel like if we asked our listeners, they would vote.
They would say the same. Yeah. It's not just us.
I can speak on behalf of them.
Okay, we have 5 minutes left.
Okay, well, that's a good thing, because we went through all the questions. We are done with the questions, and now I guess we're going to talk about what we've been reading.
Yeah.
You go first.
Okay. So I recently read Extradition by Kelly Fox. It is an I think I was still reading it last time we talked, but I just finished it because I'm a very slow reader. And so it's a guy that left the mafia to become like a corporate person, because he just didn't want to live that life, except for his boss is a real big dick. And he calls him out in the middle of his meeting, and somebody records it and puts it up on social media, and it starts this like huge, wildfire of attention. And it's this dick boss learning how horrible his practices were with his company. And it's very kinky, very dirty, very good. 10 out of 10 recommend. So good. I want you to read this book.
Okay, this sounds like right up my alley, because me, I just love reading about them corporate a-holes, like I just, and then throw in making it MM.
Yeah, it's
alley.
really good. And the cover is freaking gorgeous. Like,
Now, is it audio
I
or
have
did
to
you
read it.
eyeball read it?
I eyeball read this one.
Okay.
I don't think there's an audio, but
Okay.
you know what landed on my Kindle at midnight that I am just like, I'm going to Mexico on Saturday for a week, and this is the very first book I'm going to read. Praise by Sarah Kate.
Mm-hmm.
I have read so much about it, like, and seen the early reviews. I cannot wait. Like, I am just like chomping at the bit to read this book.
Cool.
So that's my eyeball reading. But my let's see, what have I listened to lately that I was obsessed with? I listened to the first book in T.L. Smith's Chained Hands. I don't know what the series is called, but it's a duet. The second book isn't out yet, which I really screwed myself over. The premise is like pretty dark, but the book itself is not dark, not very dark. I wouldn't consider it very dark. But that one was really good. And then I'm in the middle of listening to Broken Rain by Ava Harrison. And that one, again, the premise is kind of dark, but the book isn't dark.
Okay.
Very good.
Cool.
Loving both of them.
What's funny is we can always count on us to have a variety of what we're reading, because you come in with like the super steamy stuff and just stuff that sometimes I don't even read. And then I come in with the weird stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. So like I'm still reading the zombie book. What is it called? World Between by Sarah Lyons Fleming. And I am eyeball reading it, which has taken me forever because I've been busy. All because I could not wait for the audio to come out on yesterday.
Oh.
So I'm halfway through eyeball reading it, and now I'm half tempted to download the audio book and just listen to the rest of it. But the one that I'm also eyeball reading, it's really, really good. It's called The Relaxed Author by Joanna Penn and Mark Leslie Lefevre. I guess that's how you say his name. Okay, you can see I've been putting my abuse in here with all the pages. I'm halfway through it. I'm really enjoying it. I'm very high strung. Like I am always just go, 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 go. And especially with my author life. And it's really helping me like realize, like, stop trying to do all the things that stress you out. Because obviously you're never going to be good at those, or you know what I'm saying? Like you're never going to like enjoy it. So find the things that you're good at and put your focus there. And it just gives a lot of good tips, and it's obviously based in the authoring world, so I can relate to everything in it. And I'm really enjoying it and learning some things. So that one's a really good one. And then the one I'm listening to is called Eat That Frog, and it's a self-help book about procrastination. I'm listening to it. The author's name is Brian Tracy, and the narrator, God love him, he sounds like he's 80. He is so cute, but he's very like, talks like a little old man, real slow. And I don't know if it's the author talking or if it's just the narrator, but I am enjoying the story, like, or the book. It's basically saying that the reason we procrastinate is because we don't want to eat that big ugly frog. It's big and ugly, and it's hard, and it's just, we don't want to. But it's saying that you got to eat it first, get it out of the way, and be done with it. And so like anyway, it has a lot of tips in there, and about basically how to fine-tune your productivity, and even down to like, it was telling you like to write a list and then tackle like the hardest thing first, or the thing that makes you the most money, or the thing that is the most impactful for you. So for instance, being an author, what is the number one most impactful thing that we can do as an author? I would say write. I mean, we always want to come out with new stuff, and a lot of times writers don't write that much because we're busy doing all the other things. So I've been trying to tell myself, write first before you do anything else. And so even if it's just a little bit. And
you've been doing really well with that.
Yeah. And so I'm like, ooh, all proud of myself. And then the other thing that I hate to do is pay the bills. And so on Monday, I put that second on my list. So I wrote a little bit, and then it was like, pay the bills. And I'm like, ooh, but usually I wait till like 2 p.m. And I was like, no, we're going to do it at 10 o'clock this morning. And so I literally sat down, got the bills out of the way, paid payroll. And then I was like, oh, I felt so free. Like I just didn't have this like cloud hanging over me. It was something so simple. Like all I did was put it on a list and do it, you know?
Yeah.
And so that, you would think that this is all common sense stuff, but like hearing it and having it drilled into your brain a little bit is really helpful. So now that I'm listening to it, I also want to go and buy like the physical copy so I can flip back through and kind of remember some tips and stuff. And anyway, I'm working on that. And I even, one of the things was I wanted to record TikToks consistently.
Yeah.
And basically they have you identify like what is keeping you from doing that. And it's me. I'm keeping me from doing that. And why am I keeping me from doing that? Because I don't want to put on makeup. And then I'm like, so my laziness is keeping me from doing something that actually equates to money for me. So the answer to this is stop being lazy, Christy. Just put on the makeup. Because then once I have the makeup on, then I'm all like, oh yeah, I can make these videos. No problem. Yeah. It's just a procrastination thing or a put it off. Like I'll do it tomorrow when I put on makeup or whatever. So anyway, I even made a schedule. You're going to laugh at this. Hold on, I got to show you this. Can you see that?
Oh my gosh, I'm so proud of you. Look at how organized you are. How do you I don't even know how to do that.
It's just content ideas because I always can't ever think of what I want to do. Yeah, and so I wrote down a bunch of ideas like in all the blocks for the week for how many ever times I thought. And then now I'm skipping over and doing different ones, but then I cross them off so that I know that I did that content. Believe it or not, that's very helpful for me. Like I didn't realize I needed this, you know? So
yeah, that's awesome.
Anyway, the book is helping me not procrastinate as much. So look out, world. I'm going to be a billionaire.
By next week.
Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's all. Okay. That's all I'm reading.
All right. We're going to get in trouble with our producer.
Oh yeah.
We went over a little bit.
This is true. Okay. So don't forget, we're going to put those links in the thing. We're going to try to. And then also don't forget to subscribe if you listen to us so that when we have a new episode, it pops up. And then also don't forget to follow us like on social media, like on Instagram or on YouTube. You can subscribe over there and then comment. If you have questions for us, we will totally do that. And if you don't feel right about commenting on a post, send us a message and we'll try to tackle your topic or your questions. And we can even leave your name off if you want to be anonymous. And sorry, Erin, I just told everybody your questions, but but
I don't think she'll care.
Right. But if you want to be anonymous, and we will tackle it and we will do our best. So we're here to just chit chat about all things books.
Yeah. All right. We will be back maybe even in less than 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But the next time you see me, I am going to be bronzed and hopefully relaxed. We'll see.
Yeah. I'm so jealous. I need to go on vacation. You got room in your suitcase for me?
I do. Yeah. Come on over.
On my way.
Whatever. You would not like sitting outside because you don't like the heat.
True.
And also,
my chair would miss me.
Yeah, your chair. Yeah, you can't go anywhere without your husband, and I don't have room for him, so you're out.
Oh, dang.
All right, we will be back soon. Thank you for listening, and see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.